Tom Slater, do you trust Labour with the nation's finances?
Well, the whole message they're putting out is just trying not to scare the horses and trying to sound as fiscally responsible as possible. I do think the bigger problem that both governments have to, or both parties have to confront is you have to be able to trust them to actually get growth in the economy. I mean, both of them are now talking about that. But
I mean, it's nice for people to actually care about getting some growth now after all these years.
No, exactly, after pretending like it wasn't an issue. But I feel like that's the big central question that we need to keep putting their feet to the fire. I get questions of public services and spending and so on are very crucial. But at the same time, you know, how are you going to pay for them is a very different proposition when the country's actually growing.
But also, I mean, we're talking about an extra there's a £2 billion black hole. They're going to raise some money from this. I'm all in favour of them closing loopholes for the very, very rich when they're just basically not paying fair taxes like everyone else. You live in this country, you're resident here for a long period of time. Sorry, you're paying taxes here. And if you don't want to pay taxes here, sod off and live abroad. I don't see why this has to be so complicated for everybody. And we know that, I mean, even though they've introduced this non-dom tax, well, we're getting rid of the get-out clause under the Tories, there is a loophole which does need to be closed, and I'm all in favour of people closing those. However, the sort of sums we're talking about are, as I've said earlier, money down the back of the sofa in terms of the spending that this government has. And when you look at, you know, I mean, look, very rich people pay most of the tax in this country. We have to get over, you know, was it top 1% pay 30% of all income tax because they're very, very rich and they pay a lot of the tax. But we need to get more people paying tax because they're earning more and producing more and in work, crucially, in work, not on benefits. But we need people to be paying tax at a lower rate so they can spend more in the economy and boost the economy and create that growth that creates the jobs. If most of your money is being taken in tax, you're not being able to spend it. You know, out in the local shops and on goods and services, creating jobs. And we are in this sort of bind, aren't we? Because it seems to me, my answer to this question, would I trust Labour with the nation's finances, is no, but I don't trust the Tories either. Do I trust Reform UK or Lib Dems or Greens? No, I don't trust any of them. I don't think anyone trusts any politicians with the nation's finances because I don't think they've got a clue what they're doing anymore.
Not at all. And I think
if they ever did.
But it's also, I think the problem is that the debate that we're having is often in such kind of small bounds. Like it's all about how they're going to recover this £2 billion, which, as you say, is kind of money down the back of the sofa. And it suits both sides to pretend that that's a lot of money, because the Tories can say, oh, they're throwing it around like no one's business, and Labour can pretend we're actually being very radical here and going to fund this, that and the other. The problem is the economic issues are so much bigger than have you got 2 or 3 billion here to pay for your breakfast clubs or this or that.
Yeah.
So I'd rather we had that a bit of a bigger conversation about where is this growth in the economy going to come from. And
we're spending like 30 billion on housing benefit a year, for God's sake, subsidising people's rents because we haven't built enough houses.
Absolutely. The big structural things we all agree on.
We spend so much money on things that we shouldn't be needing to spend a penny on.
And there's room for whatever party to be quite radical on that basis. We all agree what the big structural problems are in relation to housing and so on. Just set out a credible plan for doing so, and you can take the public with you, even if it involves, you know, larger sums of money or a longer-term plan.
And I'm absolutely, as a, you know, I love how many people tell me how they know how I vote. I am a floating voter. I've always talked about it's the people and it's the policies. And there are people who I don't trust, people I trust, and it's the policies that I think are good or bad. And I don't care whether it's a good or bad policy. A party it's the Tories or Labour or whoever at all. If it's a good policy, I'll support it. If it's a bad policy, I won't support it. It's very, very, very simple. Labour also in the news yesterday when we saw, if you're watching, we've got footage of this. Yet more demonstrations by activists. In this case, we're told pro-Palestinian activists from Youth Demand, spray painting Labour's party headquarters in central London with red paint, both inside and out. They call themselves a youth resistance campaign. They say they're fighting for an end to what they call genocide and demanding a two-way arms embargo on Israel and an end to oil and gas drilling. I like that they've got the eco thing in as well, Tom. What do you make of these sorts of protests and demonstrations?
I've been fascinated, as you suggested there, by how all of the issues have been put under one umbrella now. We also saw Greta recently kind of get into the Palestine issue in a big way, as if these things are any way connected. I'm sure we'll hear in a moment as to how they are intimately connected. Maybe that might be it. But, you know, I mean, what is their beef with the Labour Party here? Because they are quite mildly supporting Israel in its fight against a genuinely genocidal foe in the form of Hamas. They're upset by that. I just don't personally understand it.